Hey, what's up, you guys? Welcome to the show. This is We Got Problems. I'm Curtis G. Martin. I'm here with my co-host Rhonda Brown.
Hey everybody.
I also have my other co-host Caliph Johnson, the trash vegan,
Peace. How y'all doing?
and then we have a special guest, LaCheka, the go-to
Hey,
chick.
hey, everybody. Happy to be here.
Hey, so this is episode number 36, year-end business tips. And I guess we're going to talk about things that we should be doing and getting ready for to close out the year strong. I guess we'll start with you, LaShika. What's some things we need to do to close out the year pretty strong?
Wow, I think I don't think we have enough time really to talk about to get into a lot of those things. But I'm happy to be here. I run the Go-To Chick. We are a virtual assistance and automation support business for small businesses and teams as well. So what we are doing right now in terms of gearing up our clients for year end, we are focused on two areas. Those are the two key areas of the business. For the Go-To Chick, and that is virtual assistance slash outsourcing, and it would be business automation. So the reason that I want to focus on those two is because I know that between now and the next maybe 6 or 7 months, you're going to hear more about outsourcing. You're going to hear more about virtual assistants. Even there's even more development around virtual teams. So businesses are now not only just looking for one person or one consultant to outsource. A lot of businesses are seeing that it makes more sense and it's actually feasible to have an entire virtual team. So I would love to talk a little bit about that and how to be successful when you're gearing up for outsourcing. And then in terms of business automation, sometimes it can seem complicated and very challenging. We are talking about technology, and technology really is another language. Just like we have to, if we study a different language, technology is that same. It's the same way. I see it that way. But with that learning curve, if we can get over that learning curve or feel confident in our plan and confident in our business, we can outsource and get some of the business automation. So when you think about business automation, let's bring it back and make it really, really simple. So what exactly is that? I just want you to think about a task that you do or someone on your team currently does, and you hate it, or that person hates it. Whatever that task is, I guarantee you there is a tool, there is an app, there is a resource that will do that for you. We can look at emails. I know that that can be a very time consuming task. And it's also a task that I call a non revenue generating task. So we really just want to focus on revenue generating tasks. Those are the tasks that are actually producing money. And reading emails not necessarily are going to translate into dollars, right? So as entrepreneurs and business owners, we find ourselves stuck in an inbox checking emails when we can outsource that one to a virtual assistant, or we can put some automation tools in place. Some automation tools as simple as you can set up rules in your email account so that when certain emails come to you from a certain sender, they will automatically go to a certain box. Or you can have it to where they're automatically forwarded to maybe your assistant or someone else on the team who can handle those emails. You can even also flag emails to send you reminders in the future. So, and that's just one example, right? Just looking at emails. But there's also phone calls. If your business does consist of a lot of cold calling, yes, we can see that that can translate into dollars, but I'm pretty sure that there is something else that would require your time better than actually being on the phone call all day, right? So again, that's why outsourcing comes in, and we can get a little bit techie. I don't want to get too techie, but we can even start talking about or looking into chatbots. So that's a whole nother world, whole nother language. But I'll stop there to
Mm,
see if y'all have any questions or if I
I got a
can
million.
elaborate.
Tell
I
me
got I
about
got a million.
it.
I got a million. Hold on. Do you want to start? Anybody else want to start? Because I
Yeah,
got
I'll start
questions.
with one because I want to keep it to that email before we keep moving on different
Okay.
topics. So with the emails, you said we can set it up to where we set rules to where certain emails are going to certain people. Now,
Yes.
should we set up emails like for supports, email for info, and then that way we have these different emails set up? Because I see a lot of people there's support.com, support curtisgmartin.com, and then now
Hmm.
you're getting all these flood of emails. So should we have something like billing at curtisgmartin.com, support at curtisgmartin.com? How would that work?
I completely recommend that 100%. Even if you are a one person team or a two-person team, you should still have email aliases directed to certain departments. So even though, like I said, you may be a one or two-person team, imagine yourself as a corporation. So if you imagine yourself as a corporation, you as the CEO will not receive invoices for certain things. You just won't, because you're the CEO. There is a finance team or a finance department that handles that. So yes, I always recommend, you should always set up, there should be a finance ad or billing ad. So all of your financial related questions or concerns from customers will go to one place. Tech support can be a completely different alias. Now, what is really unique, and depending on the type of email service that you have, you can create it to where, if you have, I'm trying to get an example. I was not prepared. I wish I could share my screen, but I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of an example of the various rules. So I'm thinking of Gmail. The Gmail is one of the most common ones, and so with Gmail, even if you are using a Gmail account, so let's say you've got billing ads, you've got tech support, and maybe you have another one, whatever it is. Let's just say contact us. It's a general. Well, you can funnel all three of those to one designated email so that they are streaming into those individual inboxes, but then you can always have them go to one standard inbox. That's how I have my business set up. That way, even though I'm not looking at every single thing as it comes in, I have the ability to, right? I have
Mm-hmm.
the ability to go in anytime and see that. But if when I'm trying to be really focused, then I can designate some time and just maybe check out the billing alias and see what is there. There's so many tools though. When I think of email, another tool that I highly recommend, and I would say it would be Zendesk. And if you hear that and you think, well, wow, that's what big corporations are using. I promise you, if you are receiving a large amount of incoming emails and incoming phone calls for your business, you definitely want a tool like Zendesk. Because what Zendesk will do, it'll take those incoming emails and create a ticket for it, which then will create it has a project management system kind of in the back end, so that you can navigate where things are going, where things are in the process. So I hope I answered the question. I
No,
can
no,
keep
you
going,
did.
but
You did. No, that was cool. So
okay.
when you talked about that having the emails going to these different ads, but then
Hmm.
also I have them coming to my direct email box or a box that I set up. Is that so I can be in the know of everything going on when I want to get in and look and see maybe somebody missed the email, maybe something's missing, but somebody emailed me and then we don't know about it. I can just double check. Is that why I'm doing that?
That is exactly why you're doing that. You're doing that because one of the things that we have to remember as entrepreneurs, and especially for smaller businesses, and when I say smaller, I mean businesses that are generating less than 2 million annually. That's technically what is considered a small business. So when we think about those businesses that generate less than 2 million every year, I don't think that we think about various tools because of the expense. The other thing that I don't think that we think about is when we see, oh, we need some support, we need some help. So we get someone, we outsource or get a virtual assistant, or maybe it's a relative, a neighbor, whoever it is. And maybe they're building these things or organizing some things for us. But if we're completely out of the loop, what happens if that person wins the lottery and says I love you, but and now you are completely out of the loop. Now you have to go back and do more research, which is taking more time. But if you have that constant insight into the business, it's the difference between, and I always say this, it's the difference between working in your business and working on your business. And my mission is to help entrepreneurs work on their business and not in it.
Oh, good stuff. Good stuff. What you got for us, Trash?
Okay, you made you made a mention about multiple virtual assistants. What were you? Could you elaborate a little bit more into that?
Oh, for sure. So first of all, before you get a virtual assistant, I always say really think about what it is that you need done. Sometimes, and I have been guilty of this, I have said, oh my God, I need a virtual assistant, and then I go find somebody, right? But then what happens is the person is on board ready to go, but I'm struggling to get everything prepared for them to help me, right? It's almost like calling the maid service to come, but you kind of got to clean up a little bit so they can do their job, right? So, with multiple virtual assistants, think about the various tasks. So, you may have a, a virtual assistant that focuses on nothing but administrative, right? So, then that person has their own set of tasks. But again, think of it as a department. If you think of it as a department or a team as opposed to a person, like think of it as a position, like as a role, I think that will help you better to define various lanes for the different virtual assistants. So you would have one that's strictly admin. So maybe they are checking emails, making sure your calendar is up to date, confirming schedules, that kind of thing. And then you may have a virtual assistant that they do is bookkeeping. So they just make sure at the end of the month you have your profit and loss statements, that you have your balance sheets, that everything is checked and balanced, and that can be that one person's, their sole role is that. And then you can have a virtual assistant or outsource for marketing. And you can see why you would want three different people. Sometimes you do look up and you can find a company or an agency that can handle all of those things. I Those are the best to go with if you can find that. Because what ends up happening is you see and you find that there is more synergy among the team that way. Because if you can imagine, if the admin assistant is from one agency, you've got a marketing person, it's a marketing firm, and then you've got your bookkeeper. And if there are three different agencies, they may not be in communication as often as if they were all within that same agency, right? But there are advantages and there are ways to work around that. The main thing is to have a plan. I call it a roadmap. Like before your virtual assistant starts, and you can imagine, um, going into an amusement park, when you walk up, say you are here, right? And then you can see all of these places that you can go, and the goal is to make it through everything and come back to the end. And so think of that for your virtual assistant. If the end, what is the end goal? So that would be the destination. So then create a map of what that would look like for that person. Yes, it is going to be time consuming, but I promise you, if you invest the time to do that, not only will your assistant or whoever you're outsourcing with be extremely successful, then you in turn will be extremely successful, right? It's a win,
Hmm.
win, win. So when you think about the multiple teams, think of it that way.
And so
Interesting.
you mentioned also that a lot of people are going to teams with virtual assistants. Are they did that was that exposed because of COVID when everybody was at home, or
Absolutely. Absolutely. The other thing that was exposed during COVID is that employees are spending a lot of time on screen. So not only are they in Zooms most of the day, especially if their role is meeting heavy, right? So you have tons of meetings, but then when you pull in the aspect that not everyone, most people are working from home. Studies have shown that it's hard for people to unplug. So, what's happening is companies are now trying to find a way to keep company morale at its best. Just a little side note for those of you who don't know, right now, what we are experiencing in the United States is something called the Great Resignation. What is happening is that millions of people have left, walked away, or retired from their 9 to 5, and it's record breaking this year than it's ever has. I think in April, over 4 million people. April of 2021, more than 4 million people had left their jobs. So what's happening in the corporate world in terms of virtual assistants and the need for outsourcing is that these companies are seeing or are trying to find ways to bring more work-life balance into the workplace, right? So now they see, oh, okay, so if his main job is, let's say he's a project manager, but he's spending, multiple hours managing emails, we can hire a virtual assistant just to manage Timmy's emails. And so we're starting to see more companies do that. So they are giving people time back to their family. Some companies are coming up with days like COVID days or days of relief or something like that. And some companies are now deciding to utilize virtual assistants and outsourcing as almost kind of like another benefit or perk. Hey, join our company. We can eliminate some of your screen time because we've hired some virtual assistants. So I believe we are going to see more. We're going to see more of that, especially if companies really want to keep good people and they don't want to be a part of this great resignation. I think that we're all going to have to start getting creative on how we do business moving forward.
So we're talking about the end of the year. How beneficial is it to have a virtual assistant when it comes to getting things together for the end of the year? Or is that something that they should constantly be working on throughout the year, so it's like, everything's already
Well,
done?
so true, right? So I say that if you're not working with a virtual assistant, um, and that's something that you think would add value to your company, then I think you need to start thinking about first start thinking about the tasks that pissed you off this year. Like really, like what were those things that get under your skin? And think about those things that you procrastinate on. So I know that when I first started my business, one of the things that I procrastinated on was the monthly checks and balance. Oh my gosh, that is such such a pain. And so I would procrastinate. And for years, I would file my taxes extremely late because I would have to go back at the end of the year because I didn't do what I was supposed to do and try to figure out all of that stuff. And it can be a mess. If you find that that is where you are, it really is okay. Start with the pain points first. Like I said, think about what pains you and what procrastinates you, and let that be the first thing that you give the virtual assistant. And sometimes my number one thing is to say, have a roadmap before you get started. But I would say only for a year, only for the end of the year. If you are extremely if you just feel that your company is ready to go right away with a virtual assistant and you don't have a plan, I'd say go for it because you may not feel that momentum and you may not feel that energy come January or February when things begin to change. So if you feel that now, at least make that attempt. and let that virtual assistant then help you kind of coach you through what the next steps are. So
Okay.
I hope I answered your question,
You
Rhonda.
did.
Okay. Somebody like me, sis.
Okay.
I'm a smaller business and I don't have a lot, but it's a ton of emails coming in. It's a ton of stuff that needs to be done on the back end.
Yep.
What would you recommend for someone who's a smaller startup business that's really just getting to this entrepreneur world? What
Hmm.
would you recommend for those people out there? What do you think
This
to be the best way to go about it?
the same exact thing. I don't care if you have a $10 budget a month or if you have a $100,000 budget a month. Before we even look at money, think about, like I said, what pisses you off and what do you procrastinate on? And you start from there. Because regardless of budget, we got problems.
We got problems.
So let's say you had virtual assistants, somebody doing the email, somebody doing the social media. Um, how often do you reevaluate what you need?
That is such a great question. So my rule of thumb and my philosophy is I check in every single week. I know that that may seem like overkill for most people. Like, oh my gosh, you're checking in every single, yes. And because of that, I have such a great relationship with all of my virtual assistants. They really like that I check in and that we're checking in, and things do change in the process. And so, with this roadmap that I've created for them, and that I highly encourage everybody to create for not just their virtual assistants, whoever you are outsourcing to, have a plan, and that plan should be filled with expectations. It should be filled with methods of communication, all of those things. Because what you find is, and what I have found over the years, is that my orientation process, it is so short. It is like so short. I share the roadmap with them, and we have a one-on-one for a couple of hours. I break it up over 2 meetings, and everything is in that roadmap. Like, they don't have to reach out to me for anything. So I think it starts with asking those tough questions, and then making some assessments from there. But for some businesses, if weekly is if that's too much, then I almost want to say, if weekly check-ins is a little too much, then maybe right now virtual assistance isn't for you. Because the thing is, a virtual assistant, we have to remember, this is someone who is not an employee. These are people who you're paying them as an independent consultant. So their stake in your business is a little bit different than if it was an employee employer relationship, right? So you have to keep that in mind as well. And so you're not just checking in on where are we with this project, but you also are checking in with how are you feeling with the work that you're doing. How are you seeing, are there ways that you see that we can improve on certain tasks? What did you have a problem with when you tried to do X, Y, and Z? So the check-in is really a holistic check-in. So if you can't do it every week, definitely every other week. And if that's too much, then I would say this may be too much. But if that's too much, I would say then you need to hire a project manager to manage the assistants, and then you don't have to worry about that.
Oh, that's a good idea. Hey, it's so much with these virtual assistants and so much stuff at the end of the year to do. So I kind of want to go back a little bit. But so we talked about those receipts and getting ready for
Ooh,
tax time.
yes.
I used to do a envelope with monthly receipts. That was the best I got, right? Stuffing them
Okay.
all in a month. And then I noticed I went back and some of them totally disappeared. Like the stuff on
Wow.
them was
The
gone.
ink.
The
Yeah,
ink,
the ink was
yes, it
gone.
fades.
So I'm kind of into scanning because I heard
Okay.
that your bank statements won't really work. So how would you work a virtual assistant to keep track of like your billing and your stuff for taxes?
Okay. Great question. And first, I want to address you said that the bank statements won't work, and that's not true.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, that is how I have filed my taxes the past couple of years. And so my tax attorney took my bank statements as well as because we did have backup for it. So it was my bank statements, as well as emails. So anyway, I just wanted to address that first. Yes, you can use bank statements. Now, there are apps that you can use that will help you throughout the year. One of them that I really like is called Nutcash. I don't know why it's called that. It's Nutcache. And so it's an app. And so it'll allow you to, you can scan your receipts, and everything is generated in an Excel spreadsheet, or a spreadsheet that you can then export. So then that comes in handy. So that's you using automation for that, right? Now for a virtual assistant, I think the best way would be is if you currently, with whatever card or method of payment that you use, if you have it set up to receive, so that you receive emails per every purchase made from that card, you can have that go into one designated email alias. I know I've been talking about a whole lot of email aliases, but trust me, believe it or not, the more the merrier, because you end up being a lot more organized. So if you have, let's say, I'm just making this up. So you've got your American Express, and so you've set it up to in your settings to where every time this card is charged, if you receive an email, whether it's an email receipt or whatever it is. So that virtual assistant, instead of you worrying about them having access to your financial records, you give them access to that email alias. And then they can take that information and dump that into a spreadsheet for you. And that's something that they can do. That can be a weekly task, right? So every Friday or every whatever day, you go into the email and drop all of the expenses in a spreadsheet. That could be a weekly task. And so that's how you break that down.
Okay.
Or that's one way you could break it down.
Okay, and that's not something you would have to have like every day. You could
Right.
hire a virtual assistant to do it once a week. Because
Once a week or once a month. Definitely.
okay,
Now, how do you go about, like, so we saying all this year end stuff that we're trying to get, but we need somebody that's well versed in a few things, right? So
Yeah.
would that be in that plan you talked about, and that way we'll get that person that knows all these things first?
Absolutely, because without a plan, you have no idea who you're looking for. You're just looking for help. I just need help. I
I
just
just
need
need
help.
help. I got problems.
Right, right. And what ends up happening is when we dive into, and I can only speak from personal experience, when I have ever just dove right into, oh my gosh, I need help. I found an assistant. It has not turned out well for me. They're confused. I'm mad at what they produced. It's not organized. I'm just like, oh my God. And so I end up spending more time and more money to fix what could have been set up, just a little bit more organization on my part from the very beginning. So it really is about organization, and it is planning, and it is time consuming, because when you sit down and start thinking about every single thing that you need or need help with, it can be overwhelming. But I promise you, you can hire a virtual assistant just to sit and help you dump your thoughts. Like seriously, you can just, hey, I want to pay you, $10 an hour. I just need a second set of eyes, right? Just here, listen to this, and you can have this person to take notes while you're talking. You can invite them to your meetings so that they can be taking notes for you. So that's something else off of your plate. And then it'll be their job to make sure that you stay on task. So it'll be their job to maybe put a reminder on your calendar about something. But there's so many ways that we can use all of these different tools, but planning is most important, if we really want to be successful and save money and generate more money.
So, and you said the best plan of action to start with is our pain points. Like in your experience, what for business owner, what's been a lot of pain points for most business owners, or is it a area, or is just each individual is
Oh
different?
my goodness. Well, yes, each individual company is different, but the top that I have seen is bookkeeping, marketing, and anything pertaining to like taxes or state regulation, like all of those things. And the reason that I separate that from bookkeeping, because you can hire a virtual assistant to do bookkeeping tasks, but they're not a bookkeeper. Please hear me, because it makes a complete difference when you hire this person. So you want to hire a admin to do some bookkeeping tasks. You don't want to hire a bookkeeper. Two different, I mean, you can if you want to, but they're two different tasks and two different roles and responsibilities.
Is that cost
So,
of money? Is that cost of
well,
price range
yeah,
or
definitely. Yeah, yes, because of price point, but then also because of the experience needed to do what you need done, right? So if we're just having a person to go into an email alias, take some information and dump it into an Excel spreadsheet, that does not require the same level of training and education as a bookkeeper. So I would hate for us to invest in a bookkeeper when we really maybe didn't need that at that time. We just needed help with bookkeeping tasks, right?
Makes
good
sense.
stuff?
Because totally different. Bookkeeping tasks is not keeping your books.
Right.
Totally different.
But
I
and then
got you.
also, if you keep anything pertaining to taxes separated, it just makes it more easier for that person, and makes it easier for when you get ready to do taxes.
Okay, question. So with some of these, again, with some of us small business startups, right? Like, what are some of the pitfalls that they could that they can avoid by going automated and investing into a virtual assistant or someone like you said that's just there for the help? What are some of the small building stones they should be looking for us small business owners?
So what you want to do is maybe set milestones for you that will trigger change. So what I mean by that is, so if you look at where you are in your business right now, and you can say, okay, so right now I'm generating $50,000 a month. I want to generate $100,000 a month. It's going to take some time to get there, right? So maybe what I'll do is, once I reach the $60,000 mark, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to invest and work on this aspect of my business. Whatever your pain point list is, whatever is number one, two, or three, and so then you tackle that, right? So I think that's where you start.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
And as far as you asked me, as far as pitfalls, so I mean, the two biggest challenges or pitfalls that I find when I see that businesses are not utilizing automation or outsourcing, obviously a whole lot of money is left on the table. Um, and I also see that they are extremely burnt out because they are trying to do everything manual. Um, and that can be really, really tough if you are working in your business and working on your business, and you're doing everything. You're the accountant, the email person, you fill orders, you talk to the customers, you if you're doing every single thing and you're not utilizing automation or outsourcing, there is a chance, and this is only statistics. This is not me being pessimistic. I think I'm a very optimistic person, but chances are that business will not be around. It will not. There's no way for it to sustain itself. Um, and that would be the ultimate pitfall. And that is why when we research small businesses, we see that most of them, they fail within 5 years. And it's because, I mean, there are a lot of tasks involved with running a business, no matter what kind of business it is, no matter how big it is, or no matter how small it is. Everybody has financial tasks, everybody has marketing, everybody has people, all of those different things. So it doesn't matter how small your business is, how much you're bringing in. Think about those two things: what pisses you off and what procrastinates you. And you start from that list, and you start with the most painful thing first, and you work from there and use your milestones to work on what it was going to happen next, right? So
So
that's how
baby,
you break that up.
so basically, you telling us don't quit our 9 to 5 to start working 24 hours a day.
Please, please, if you have a 9 to 5 and you are able to stay on that 9 to 5, I say stay. And I say stay until you have a plan to really be able to walk away. And that can be a whole nother conversation.
I,
But
I I know. Get into it a little bit because you told me something one day and I thought it was really cool. What's your goal for somebody walking away from a 9 to 5? What's that plan you have for walking away from a 9 to 5, or what you would suggest somebody to do?
so the first thing is think about, because you have to start with where you are. I mean, that's again going to that map. You are here, right? So think about where you are. So when you think about your annual salary from your 9 to 5, I think that is a great starting point for a milestone. So for me, my plan to walk away from my 9 to 5 is I want to generate my annual salary. Like I want to be able to generate that before I walk away. And I want to be able to see that I'm generating maybe like 5 times what I'm making now, a month on my own. So that's one way to start. So if right now your 9 to 5, you are making $100,000. Okay, awesome. So now let's look at a plan. What will it take for you to make $100,000 from your business? I mean, we can break this down so simple. So in order to make $100,000 from your business, if you have a product, okay, if you're selling, if you're selling a product and you're selling $1, so we know we have to sell 100,000 of them to get you to that point, right? Use that same philosophy, use that same formula to walk off your 9 to 5. So, what are you making today is your annual salary? Okay. Now, what will it take for you to generate that in your business and start from there?
So I've seen businesses to where it take them 2 years to generate that. So what should be my goal for that? Like for me to walk away, should I do it monthly? I remember having a conversation with you, and you said something to the effect of I should make that yearly salary at least 3 months in a row, and then that kind of let me know that okay, it's time. I got maybe I
Yes,
can even bank one of them 100,000s, right?
absolutely. So, for me, my personal goal, y'all, is what I make a year, I want to generate a month, hands down. It's going to require a whole lot on my part, right? So the way that I'm doing it, I'm breaking mine down pieces by like really really small pieces. And the way that I have projected it is that it's possible that I could do this by like November next year. And so the way that I'm looking at it is, this is maybe TMI. I don't care, y'all. This is family. But
No, this
this
going out to the universe.
and
Right.
hopefully this will be helpful for somebody. But what I'm doing is I'm looking at it across the year, right? So I know for me personally, I'm up for a professional bonus, right? So that professional bonus, I'm going to take that and reinvest that into my business to help me move forward to my goal, right? Whether that means I'm gonna have to take some of my bonus and invest in maybe two more virtual assistants, or probably just say a higher virtual assistant, one a little bit more knowledgeable. But so I'm using all of that. And I like to say that your 9 to 5, it really is your angel investor. It really is. If you think about it that way, it's all in programming, right? Or somebody can say, "Well, I see it as a plantation." It's a whole nother conversation, right? And I can't disagree with either. I really can't. But I think you have to find what motivates you. So if it motivates you to think of your 9 to 5 as a investor, go for it. If it motivates you to say, "Oh, you know what? I'm on a plantation and I gotta go," let that motivate you as well. But have a plan. And for me, that plan, I call my plan the Underground Railroad. And you have people along the way, whether they are mentors, whether my virtual assistants, folks like you all, like y'all are a part of my Underground Railroad. And so you have to build that up for yourself when you're thinking about walking away from your 9 to 5, especially if you're thinking about walking away from your 9 to 5 and you are still trying to manage year end stuff for your own business. Definitely need to be looking into some automation. Definitely need to see who you can partner with for some outsourcing.
All right, when we see Chic on the $20 bill, we'll know what happened.
Uh-huh.
She done made it. She made it. She done made it to the river, down by the river. She go ahead, make it down
Oh
by
my God, wade in the water, okay?
Uh-huh. Hey,
So
I like where the conversation going. I think we should kind of move over into like the go-to chick and what you actually do and what you actually provide.
talk about
Okay.
it, sis. And where can we find you at? Like, give us all your social media platforms, your LinkedIn. Go ahead and kick it. Where can the people find you so they can utilize your gifts that you provide to the people, and we can go ahead and help you get off that plantation?
Yes. So the best way to find all the things about the Go To Chick is thegotochick.com, and is the THE go go the number two CHIC. So THEGO the number two CHIC. A little story about that and how I came to be the Go To Chick. So long story short, for several years, I have to go, let me go back. Let me take it another step back. So for years, I was executive assistant for a lot of the top CEOs in the country, in a lot of different companies, from Tractor Supply Company to doing events for the Grammys to a lot of different places, Tennessee Lottery, just a lot. And there was a point in my career where I started temping myself. I was not a virtual assistant, but just a what they call just an admin assistant, and I was getting work through a temp agency. And it just so happened, I won't say what company I was at this particular incident. So, so the CEO reached out to me because I'd done work for this company before, and he said, "My executive assistant is on maternity leave, and I need someone to come and help." Okay, sure, yeah, I got it. And so, so I'm there assisting him, his right hand, and one of my jobs was to check the mail. So I'm just checking the mail because that was a part of my admin task to do as the administrative assistant. And I opened the mail and I see that there is an invoice from the temp agency. And I saw that the temp agency was charging like $50 an hour for me. And at the time, I think I was only getting paid like 22 bucks an hour. And I felt so violated. I mean, like I took it personal. I mean, I really took it personal. I called the agency. I was like, I just saw this invoice, and apparently I was not supposed to be privy to that. And that was a whole other thing. But it pissed me off. It made me so mad that somebody else was making like $30 off of the work that I'm doing and they didn't do anything. I'm like, what? And I said, and it was in that moment, I said, if I'm gonna be pimped, I'm gonna pimp myself. And that's when I started and that's when I started my business. And for a long time, it was called Dunamis Solutions. Dunamis is a Greek word that means miraculous power. But I spent most of my time during discovery calls with clients explaining what the hell that meant, as opposed to what about, what I was doing. So fast forward forward to, I'm running Dunamis Solutions. I've got all these clients. And one day a client called me. They were in India and working on a huge project. And I really, really only felt like I clicked a couple of buttons. Like, I do not even remember everything that I did. And he called me. He was like, "Oh my gosh, you are our go-to chick. Thank you so much." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay." Because I had another call. Like, I mean, I appreciated that, but I know that I was on a mission and I had other things to do. So I'm just like, "Yeah, okay, thank you. Yeah, yeah, yeah." On to the next call. So I'm on to my next meeting, and it was a company, and and the CEO and her husband were trying to get visas. They were trying to get visas. Long story, I don't know. I'm trying to remember what I did. It doesn't matter, but I made it happen in like 24 hours. And so they called me. They were crying. They were like, "Oh my God, LaCheka, you are the go-to chick." And I was like, "That's funny. Somebody said that earlier today." Moving on with my life, because there was just a lot going on. And later on that night, helped another client, and she said, "You really are the go-to chick." And I said, "I've had two other people to say that to me today." And she says, "Well, I think that should be a sign." I said, "A sign for what?" "That you should change the name of your business." And I was like, "To what?" And she was like, "The go-to chick." And I was so stuck on Dunamis Solutions. It took me a long time to let that go. And so finally I said, "Okay, yeah, I am the go-to chick." And so what we do at the Go-To Chick is we provide support for with virtual assistants as well as business automation. So businesses come to us when they need support in building their business, maintaining it, from administrative tasks on down to trying to um, digitally transform your business. So that means implementing some automation tools. And putting all of those things to work. So that's why businesses come to me. I've been doing this now for about 20 years. I started in 2017. I'm sorry, I started in 20. It was 2001, and then in 2016, that's when that burnt out. That's how I know about burnt out, and when you are working in your business and not on it. And so I did. I got burnt out, and I said I need to step away, walk away, and that's what I did. And so I'm slowly coming back, not full time, but slowly coming back, but still offer all of those full services. Like I said, from um, automation support to outsourcing management, virtual assistant training, and all of those things pertaining to that. Even I'm starting to dabble into AI. I love AI. Um, I don't know, when I was still considered a secretary. So this had to be like, I don't know, 98, 99, I guess. And this man told me, I was working at a company near Washington, D.C. And this man said, in about 20 years, a robot is going to be doing your job. And I had heard people talk about robots doing all these jobs. And I think when I was younger, I immediately went to like manufacturing types of jobs, right? Or industrial types of jobs. And when I would hear people make these comments, "Oh, a robot is going to be taking over, robots are going to be doing that," it always seemed to be negative. Like, people were seeing that as a negative. So, but when I heard it for the first time that I was actually going to be replaced by a robot, it actually did not. It didn't upset me. It made me so much more curious. Like, I was like so curious. Really, a robot is going to be doing my job? Wow. And so it was in that moment I said, "Well, I want to program that robot. Like, I want to be that
I need
robot."
3 of these robots.
Yeah, I want to be a part of what that is going to look like. And so I feel like once once I really got into technology, kind of mid 2000s, I think then that's when I was really all of a sudden just on this mission to recreate. Do y'all remember Rosie from the Jetsons?
Mhm.
She
So
did everything.
if I could recreate Rosie, but for businesses and to manage business operations, like that would just be a dream for me.
So that's who you are. You are Rosie. Okay, I knew what it was.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm not
No,
Rosie.
she
you.
Rosie 2.0.
Yeah, she
So here's the
programmed
thing.
Rosie. She's the
But
one who's gonna
that's
program
it.
Rosie. That's
That's
what
the
I'm
Mhm.
talking
thing.
about.
I'm not Rosie. It's my team and our systems is what that is. And I'm glad you mentioned that because over the years I feel like I've really struggled with my brand. Because when I switched to become the go-to chick for many years, it was as if people thought I was saying that I'm just the go-to chick. And I think in the beginning that's what it was. But over time, that is not sustainable. One person cannot be that thing, right? So I slowly tried to change my brand and my model as well. So that way, when people think of the go-to chick, it's just like they think of Molly Mae. When you call Molly Mae, you know Molly is not showing up.
Hmm.
Molly is nowhere to be seen, right? But Molly
Mhm.
Maid is coming, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with the go-to chick. So the go-to chick, it is a system of resources. It's um a system of resources, team of resources as well.
I
So it's
like that
not
what you said about the robots. I mean, about the robots when you said that you looked at the robot and you didn't take it as a negative. I think that's a lot to say about the mindset, right? Like,
mm,
because I think like that sometimes going in the store and I watch these people send me to the self checkout and I'm going like, you finna work yourself out of a job. What's your plan behind that? Right?
mhm,
Like I
Big
would want to have
facts.
a plan, right? So
mhm.
Yeah.
so I see it too, like you said. I want to own 2, 3 of these robots. How can I use this within my system? How can I use these robots and then hire somebody within my community to help me with these robots, right? Like, how can we figure this
Absolutely.
thing out?
Mhm.
Absolutely. And that is happening more. If you go right now and just Google voice technology for businesses, you will
Hmm.
be blown away with some things that people are starting to implement in their business. So for me, one of the goals or dreams of the go-to chick is to recreate the Amazon Alexa.
Hmm.
So with the Alexa, you speak into it. Hey Alexa, play September by Earth, Wind, and Fire, right? And bam, it done. Okay, well, I'm working with the Amazon Alexa team to recreate that same mechanism, but for business operations and business management. So, for instance, eventually, I'll need to find some wood to knock on. Eventually, um, you would be able to go to an Alexa type of equipment and say, go to check, process my profit and loss statements for March 2020. Bam. And it does
Mm.
that. Hey, go to check, schedule a meeting with Curtis, Rhonda, and Trash Vegan for next week. Send a Uber to Rhonda.
Oh wow.
That we
You
got to be
know?
careful with that because we can't be until we get it on paper. Hold on, we ain't gonna just let these jewels
No, she already
just
working
out
with
there.
them. They already
I'll
Yeah.
be
patent.
damned.
They,
I'll be damned if Amazon come up with some. Yeah, hold on, we got this. Don't worry
Yeah.
about it. This
No,
is what we doing right now.
it's
Time out. We heard that
definitely.
on We Got Problems first.
we heard that on We Got Problems.
Yes, and you're absolutely right, Trash Vegan. I will not go into anything else. I don't want to get into anything proprietary, but everything that I've just shared is not proprietary. I mean, kind of just a little, but you don't know that nobody knows the science behind it and the connections
There
of
we
how
go.
I'm doing all of that. So it's all good. But yeah, I think that technology is, it sounds so corny and like I always hear it all the time, it's the future, but it is it is definitely the future. When I see that companies are starting to use robots more, when I see that there is such this great interest in voice technology it just amazes me because I think when I first started hearing about voice technology, I was thinking that people would be afraid of that, because people, we have some negative connotations with technology sometimes, whether it's from what we see in the movies or whatever the case is. But I think that if that is something that we're afraid of, partner with someone, partner with a company where you can still have your fear, but allow them to build whatever they need to build so that you aren't being left behind because of your fear. Because that's going to be very important. I say that if you're a business and you're collecting emails by a spreadsheet, a piece of paper, no, that's not going to work. It's not going to work. If at the end of the month, if you don't have a profit and loss statement to generate like within seconds, that's not good. You have to have that. Though these are just some simple, basic things. If I say right now, what is your consumer plan? So what does it look like when someone first meets you all the way to the end of this process? What does that look like? If you have no idea what that is and who handles what, it's time to look at automation and or outsourcing.
Okay. So like you dropped so many jewels for us tonight. Like just bringing it all to moving forward for 2022. What would you like to tell the people to kind of get their game plans together? How can they get at you, and what do they need to be? What do they need to start at? Just kind of wrapping into 2022. What should they be doing right now?
Well, first, I want to say don't be overwhelmed. And this is not a race. Please know that it is not a race. If some things do not get finished by the end of December 31st, guess what? January 1st is still coming. Like it is okay. And I think that's so important because around this time of year, especially with passionate entrepreneurs like myself, I know oh my gosh, it's December 13th and I haven't done this. And then that ends up creating more anxiety, creates more problems, and it is not helpful. So first thing is chill. Really relax. It's okay. And then from there, go back to those two that I told you about. Think about what pisses you off in your business and think about what you procrastinate on. And start peeling those layers back. Once you figure out, oh, this right here really irks me. I hate doing this task. Well, ask yourself, so why do you hate doing that task? Is it because you just don't know how to do it? Is it because it's just frustrating? Like, why is that? And the reason that's important is so when you hand it over to somebody else, you can say, you know what? I'm giving this to you because I hate X, Y, and Z. Like, seriously, that is helpful for you and that person or whatever firm you're working with. So, again, chill, relax, take a step back, think about what pains you and what you procrastinate on, and really work from there. I think that for 2022, it is going to be a challenge for businesses to begin to incorporate technology. And I say go for it. Start with something small. If you're not really sure where to start with email. If you have a Gmail account, let that be one of the things that you let go of in 2022. If you are a legitimate business, there is no reason that on your business card, it should be Gmail dot anything. It should be your website. It should be your website, nothing else. And even if now you're talking about now I have to have a website. Well, you can have an email address with that domain and not have a fully functioning website yet. That's a whole different conversation. But that's why you reach out to people to outsource and virtual assistants to get that for you. But that's going to be the first thing. If you are working out of a Gmail account, let that be one of the goals for 22 to get rid of that. Get a real email. And I can go on. Look at finances. Get your finances right. I know it's so weird. A lot of businesses were struggling. They couldn't get the PPP loan because when it was time to generate the financials, they didn't have it. But who knows if that's going to ever happen again? And you don't want to be the one like, oh man, I gotta hire somebody to help me get the last year of my profit and loss statements together, right? guilty. So that's something else. So just think about where you want to where you want to reclaim your time. If you want to get away from the computer screen and not be bothered with emails, give it to somebody else.
All right, good
It
stuff.
really is that simple.
Good stuff.
Good stuff.
Appreciate you, LaCheka. Hey, you
I
guys, y'all
appreciate
been
y'all.
listening to We Got Problems. I'm still here with my co-host. You got any last words, Rhonda?
I just want to thank LaCheka for coming in and dropping all them jewels. Like,
Well, I thank
whew.
y'all.
And I took my notes too.
Oh,
Oh,
good.
good, good,
Good, good,
good.
good.
What you got for us, Trash? Last words.
Oh my goodness. I couldn't thank you enough, sis, for coming through, just blessing us with your time, teaching us really where we should be getting our stuff and our business into order, moving into the future, moving into 2022, really
Yes.
wrapping this year up strong. So I can't thank you enough for your time.
Thank you. Thank y'all.
I would like to say thank you for coming on too. And you guys, like I said, this is We Got Problems. And if you're looking for anything business automation, go to thegotochick.com. That's THE go to chick, the number two chick.com. And thanks for coming, LaCheka.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, y'all. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Same to you.